Good morning, my beauties! Welcome back from spring break. I hope, even though I know so many of us are dealing with the disappointment of changed plans and not being able to hang out with our friends, I hope you still found something to restore you while you were on spring break. Okay, I clarified a little bit about this in my office hours yesterday, but I'm just going to reiterate it here. Hopefully you got the email that says we're going to find out a definitive, we're coming back or we're not coming back on the 20th of this month. So that's coming up in a little less than a week. Depending on what that decision is, I have two different options for us in terms of where we go from here. Because I want you to still have a chance to rehearse music, but I also don't want to give you a full concert's worth of literature if you're not going to have a chance to perform it. So I have some options kind of on the back burner. Until that time, we're going to keep pressing ahead with the literature that you already have. So let's take a look together at Edelweiss to start with. And again, this is just my way of giving you some things that you can look out for while you're rehearsing. So if you already have this printed as a hard copy, great, grab a pencil and your score. Let's mark a few things down. If you don't have it printed, you can probably still make adjustments to the PDF that's online. So, just make sure that you save that somewhere, and then you can use any PDF reader tool. They usually have something called like annotations, and you can make the markings in your score. If you need help with that, reach out to me. I'll let you know, okay? Anyway, Edelweiss. This week we're looking at sort of the B section of this piece. So it starts at the top of page 6 and it runs to the bottom of page 8. And altos, lucky you, starting in this place, you guys have the melody. Just as a reminder, we're using the same divisions for this piece that we used for Bring Me Little Water, Sylvie, okay? So if you don't remember whether you're singing soprano 1, soprano 2, alto, default back to that. Remember which group you were in there. Those are the parts that you'll sing, okay? So altos, you get the melody here, and it's so, so beautiful. Let's just make a marking here for a second. I'm gonna talk to the sopranos. Sopranos, you are supposed to be singing a hum in this section. I don't want to do that. We're going to sing ooh. So please cross out the double M at the top of page 6. This is measure 49. And write in ooh. That's double O. That's going to be true through the duration of this section. Make sure that your ooh is round inside and outside. I don't want to hear the pop ooh, ooh, round it way out. We want a very echoey ooh sound, okay? Also, sopranos. This whole section should be stagger breathing with like one exception. So your tendency is going to be to want to breathe after every 2 measures. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Don't do it. Stagger breathe. So I know that that's hard to rehearse when you are not singing with other people. Try to carry through as long as you can. And 2 important no breath places to note are measure 56. So they specifically have this one marked in here. It's between phrases. That little dotted line, that's a no breath. We're going to add another no breath at the bottom of page 7. This is in measure 72. So right at the page turn there, mark in no breath. Don't breathe in that space, okay? The rest of it is stagger breathing, except at the pickup to measure 65, we are all going to take a breath together. That's alto, first soprano, second soprano. So write a little breath mark in there so that you know we're all going to take a breath there. But the rest of it is stagger breathing. Altos, a quick word for you. They take some creative liberties with the melody in this section, and it's so wonderful because it catches your ear. It's something different than what you're used to hearing. In a ton of spaces here, you start the melody with a rest. So like even looking at the very first 4 measures, what you have there starts on the downbeat. Edelweiss, Edelweiss. If you could take a moment to go through and circle all the places where you start a measure with a rest, those are really important. And I want us to think about treating the rests like notes. Like they have so much rhythmic importance that they deserve the same attention as a note. That's always true, but it's especially true in this section. So just circle those and be very careful as you're listening and rehearsing that you don't default into the original rhythms there, okay? One more thing for the altos, and that is in 2 places on page 6, I want you to lean. We have something called a suspension. I've talked about this before. It's where your part holds on to a note that doesn't go with the upper parts, and then it resolves into a note that does. The first one happens right up here at measure 51-2. Edelweiss. So you hang out on this D before you sing the C. Edelweiss. You can see that I've put a little tick mark, a little tenuto mark underneath that. Write one of those in there so that you do the same thing. It just means give a little more at this point. And the same thing happens here. Clean and bright. Just make sure you lean a little bit on that first note of bright, okay? Just a general note for everyone in this piece. I think the rest of what you're working on is going to make sense to you. Let's make sure that every time we finish Bless My Homeland Forever, instead of singing ver, we sing the. Bless my homeland forever. Especially because you hold it out forever, right? At the bottom or at the middle of page 8 here. Homeland forever. So I guess that's just altos there. But in the rest of the piece, anytime you have the word ever, please sing it as Eva. E-V-E-H. Eva. Cool. Let's talk for a quick minute about popular. Just a couple of notes for you here. We're looking at a smaller chunk in this piece this week. We're going to sing the little in-between Z's. It starts on top of page 6. Don't be offended by my frank analysis. Running from measure 42 to measure 61. Okay, so what we have here is we're going back and forth between people singing soprano, people singing alto, and then the soloist for a little bit. So the divisions for this piece are a little bit different, I think. Let me just double check. Same. Oh yeah, use the same ones that you used for Sing to Me, because we're singing this one as 2 parts, right? Okay, so you might have to mark in your music where you're singing. The big thing I want you to watch out for here is accidentals. We haven't talked a lot in depth this year about sharps and flats and how they work. That's coming for you. But what you need to know basically is that there are very small half steps in here because of those accidentals. So accidentals are like sharps, flat signs, right? Okay, the 2 places I really want you to keep an eye out for are right here. So if you're singing the alto part, you've got these little half steps. Think of it as personal. These 2 notes, do 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 do. It feels like the Jaws theme song. Yeah, they're very close to each other, so take small steps there. Okay. Same thing when you get to sopranos. Now that I've chosen to be da 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 da. That's also a minor second. It's a half step. It's a very small interval. So just make sure that you're aware of that. Okay. Okay. There's that. Lots of text here. We don't need to enunciate to the point of like British boy choir. Don't be offended by my frank analysis. That's not what I'm looking for. But make sure that you put the consonants on the ends of words. Don't be offended by my frank analysis. Just make sure you keep those in there, okay? Don't blow right past them. And then one more thing, rhythmically, a bunch of spaces in this whole piece, but especially here. You guys have this figure where you start a note right before the bar line, and then this tie carries it over to the beginning of the bar line. It creates some rhythmic interest because we come in before the beat, not when it comes to, instead of not when it comes to, we've got not when it comes to. Anytime you see one of those figures, just give a little punch at the beginning of it. So the first one on this page happens here. Now that I've chosen to become a palace sister and advisor, there's nobody wiser, not when it comes to. I feel like I'm scooping a little bit. It's not a scoop. It's just a punch. There's nobody wiser, not when it comes to. Give a little more there, okay? Okay, there's 9 minutes of instruction for you. Look at how much we can accomplish in a short period of time when I don't have to tell anyone to stop going to the bathroom. If you have questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. Have fun.